All right, good morning, everybody. First time in a while making a selfie video. I got this little bow tie at Walmart for $1. It was on sale, usually $9. It was on sale for $1. I like it. It's black and white, so it goes with my motif, and also it covers up that I have shirts that are too small on me. I mean, this shirt I'm wearing, I got in Yerushalayim probably in 2001. So it's actually someone gave to me these shirts. It was because they saw I came to shul wearing a green shirt that was not so nice or something, and they're like, and this guy he was a Vision Tziyid, and he said "Zelo Magia Lecha," and I didn't know what that meant. I was like, "Red nicht kann Ivrit, this is nicht for dir." Guy kaufen für dir haben that. So they were not too expensive, but they've lasted a long time. But I'm a little bigger than I was when I was whatever. I guess 2001. I was, I don't know, 18, 19 years old. Anyway, but the shirts are still here. They're still good, so I still wear them. But the neck to wear it open is fine, but to wear with a tie, the tie is always like kind of hanging down because I can't really button the top buttons. But with the bow tie, it works well. So our friend Eric here on the channel asked us, what does it mean to be chosen? And I'm assuming he means the status of the Jewish people or the Israelite people before the loss of the 10 lost tribes. As they're often called a term, the chosen people, which in Hebrew would be Am HaNivchar. And we do have that in our liturgy. Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ho'amim V'Nasan Lanu Es Torah. When we thank God for giving us His word, we say, "You chose us from all the people. He chose us from all the peoples and gave us His Torah." You can homiletically understand that, though, to mean that we accept converts. Mikol Ho'amim, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ho'amim. You chose from us from all the peoples, meaning from other peoples also can join the Jewish people, convert to Judaism, and choose to be chosen in the same way. It's not a race-based issue. It's not, only the children of Jacob that are physically the children of Jacob, because we say in the Talmud, Talmidim Elu Habanim, disciples are children. When it says V'shinantam Levanecha in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 6, and you shall teach it diligently unto your children. And our sages understand Talmidim Elu Habanim, that one's disciples are his children, and so therefore a convert is called to the Torah Ben Avraham Avinu, that he's the son of Abraham, because to be the main thing is, are you walking in the ways of Abraham? It reminds me of the story in the Talmud in Yoma, where the high priest, who most likely in that time in history wasn't that great of a person, just he had this title, but people had respect for the office, even if the person did not deserve the respect. And this high priest, he wasn't as bad as a lot of the others who actually died inside the temple on Yom Kippur. He or shortly thereafter, they probably dragged him out just before he died, so he wouldn't be matama the whole place, right? But this one made it home, and they were walking him home after the Yom Kippur worship of Oda. And among those who were following him home were the two greatest rabbis of that generation, Shmaya and Avtalion, who were converts, and they were actually descendants from Sennacherib, the Assyrian king who was the enemy of Israel, and yet he had great grandchildren many generations later who became the leaders of the Jewish people. They were converts. And, the throng that was showing respect to the high priest, just like they do with Hasidic Rebbes, they have a begleiten, where they walk, to show respect to the Rebbe by walking him home. That it's based on this tradition that they would walk home the high priest after Yom Kippur back to his house. So it's an ancient tradition. But among those who were showing respect to the high priest were the two greatest rabbis of that generation who were converts, Shmaya and Naftalion. And a certain number of the people of the throng were gathering around Shmaya and Naftalion. It's like I remember a few years ago, Reb Tzvi Meir Zilberberg came to the Catskills. I used to go to him a lot, and while they were waiting in line, Motzei Shabbos to Vinshun or Getavach, to wish him a good week and to get a blessing, and so there was one rabbi there who was older than Reb Tzvi Meir, and he was holding court himself. A few Bachrim and Yigalite were around him listening to what he had to say while they were waiting in line to go to Reb Tzvi Meir. A similar type of thing, not quite the same, but I could imagine the same thing if in a begleiten you have somebody, a choshev, a person is there by the begleiten, and there might be a throng surrounding that choshev, a person who's begleiting, who is also showing respect to someone, like by Reb Steinemann, Zechrein Levracha, the Ger Rebbe was like his Gaba, a shtickle, that type of thing. Ger Rebbe always stayed by the side of Reb Aaron Leib, something along these lines. Anyway, so I'm sure there were always a few Ger Bachrim Yigalite who wanted to be by the Ger Rebbe, excuse me. So anyway, that's Gur, not the Ger Tzedek, meaning it's just the name of the town in Poland where they came from. Anyway, so Shmaya and Naftalion, they were there. I really meant to make a short video, but it's already 8 minutes. Shmaya and Naftalion, they were there, and they went to go greet the Kohen Gadol during this begleiten. I mean, begleiten, it's an anachronism to use a Yiddish word, but I can't think of a better word to describe this this tradition. So like I said, they went to begleit Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol, he was Makdim Shalom to them. He greeted them before they could greet him in a snide, somewhat backhanded compliment, where he said, Shalom Aleichem B'nei Ho'amim. He was a little bit racist, I would guess, and he said, peace be unto ye sons of heathens, of the nations, Gentiles. And so what is Shmaya and Naftalion? They were the greatest rabbis of the generation, and they were converts, and they said, better to be peace upon us, the sons of Gentiles, who act like Aaron, than you, a son of Aaron, who does not act like Aaron. And so this idea of chosenness, and Chazal bring this story for a reason, to teach us this lesson. Why does the Talmud bring us this story? To teach us that Judaism is not a racist religion. And being chosen is more about choosing to be chosen, to be honest. And whether you're born Jewish or not, like I said, the story was one of my more popular videos. It was the story of the Piasetzner Rebbe. It wasn't really a story. It was something he had written privately in his private diary. But it was published, and I believe it was his 40th birthday, when he said he decided he wants to be Megayer. He wants to convert to Judaism. Meaning he was a Hasidic Rebbe. His father was a Hasidic Rebbe. He goes back to Koznitzer Magid, and he, he was Ben Acher Ben from Koznitzer Magid, and he was a great thinker, a great philosopher, a great educator. And Piasetzner Rebbe, he writes on his 40th birthday in his private journal, he's like, I think I'm ready to convert to Judaism. Meaning even he recognized that he had to make this choice, that he was also a Jew by choice. That's the buzzword that we use for converts now, but really every Jew is a Jew by choice. Parents try their best to raise their kids to want to be Jewish, but they have to, everybody really has to make the choice. Is this what I really want in life? Do I want to be part of God's army or not? Do I want to be, what it means to be, do I want to choose to be chosen? And whether you're a convert or you're born Jewish, you have to really make that choice. Do you really want to live like a Jew? And do you really believe in this? And that's what it's all about. Now, biblically speaking, where do we have this idea? Because even though we have this, idea, Am HaNivchar, chosen people, a more common word that we often hear is Am Segula, a treasured people. And so, what does it mean? What's this idea? Where does it come from? Am Segula, a treasured people. We can point to Scripture, and I think that's where really and that's what I really want to say from the beginning, but I interrupted myself by going off on a somewhat of an explaining tangent that, what does it mean to be Segula? Where does that come from, that term? Well, it's in the Bible, in the Torah, Exodus 19, and I think there we really have this idea of what does it mean to be chosen or a special people. And there we also have the idea that it was a choice that Israel made to be chosen. And so, before God gives the Ten Commandments, he calls Moses up to the mountain. Because what people don't realize, what happened there, what Scripture says happened there, and it's impossible to make up a story like this. And so this is probably, as I've said many times, the greatest apologetic argument that exists in all of religion, is the national revelation argument that the Kuzari brings and Maimonides brings, and really Deuteronomy brings, that the whole nation heard God, but Moses was preparing the people for this, and Moses was going up and down the mountain, talking to God, getting them ready so that they should all hear God. And that's the incredible part of it, if you just think about what that means, that it wasn't just Moses up on the mountain bringing down the Ten Commandments. Yes, he brought down the tablets, but the people heard God say the commandments. So the whole nation experienced prophecy. That's something you can't make up, because if it didn't happen, no one would ever get away with having anyone believe that it happened. It's like saying that in the middle of the World Series or the Super Bowl or something, that a UFO came down and everyone, all the millions of people saw this happen. All the people watching on TV, even if you weren't watching on TV, you would have heard it on the news. You would have heard something about it. You couldn't, if you're a guy like me who doesn't watch the Super Bowl, doesn't watch the World Series, and and then someone tells you, oh, you heard what happened in the Super Bowl, that the flying saucer came down and the aliens, they had a message, that they're very happy with everything President Trump is doing, and Adam Schiff is a liar, and they, and even the extraterrestrials are happy with it, and I was like, well, I wasn't watching the Super Bowl, but I probably would have seen that on the news, right? But the Bible claims that all these millions of people heard God at Mount Sinai. You can't really get away with making up a story like that. No one would believe you. Even if you made up a story like that hundreds of years later, like Ezra or something, the way that a lot of people claim, you still couldn't get away with that, No one would believe it if it didn't really happen. But we'll put that aside. So, God tells Moses to tell the people, Vatem tiuli segula mikol ha'amim, you will be a treasure from all the people. And again, we can homiletically say that from all the people means that from all people can come and join this mission. You're not, and can choose to be a member of this treasured community. And then it explains our V'tiuli segula mikol ha'amim, and then it says, it explains the responsibility very briefly. V'atem tiuli mamleches kohanim v'goy kadosh, and you will be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And there, we've discussed this question of what does it mean kohen, and how the different targumim translate kohen in different places. And here it says Kahanaya, you will be a kingdom of priests. There's no ambiguity about the priesthood that's here. That even though the sons of Aaron are the priests among Israel, still Israel are the priests to the whole world. But it was presented as a choice, and in verse 9 that we see, or verse 8 rather. There in Exodus 19, it says pretty much that the people says V'chol asher diber Hashem naseh, everything that God says we will do. And then later on in Scripture in Exodus we have V'chol asher diber Hashem naseh v'nishma in Parshas Mishpatim. I think that's chapter 22 if I'm not mistaken. That we will listen and naseh v'nishma, we will do and we will listen. Meaning we'll do it first and then we'll listen. And the thing is, once you start doing these things, then you start to understand why we do it. But what I'm saying here is that the people chose to be chosen, and anyone can choose to be chosen, but what means to be chosen, and that's the question here, that's what Eric was asking, what does it mean to be chosen? It means to be a kingdom of priests. And so I have often explained it to be like how in the Catholic Church, there are certain rules that apply to a priest that don't apply to anybody else. So, for example, it's not considered a sin for a lay person to get married. but for a priest it is. And so the same thing. Someone asked me recently: is it or Native American? They said, is it a sin to eat pork? Because he said, the Muslim men who were in the prison with him tell him it's a sin to eat pork. And I said, the difference is the Muslims believe everybody has to be Muslim, and so they believe it's a sin for all people to eat pork. Judaism, although we welcome converts, and although most Jews do not encourage converts, but Judaism does encourage converts who are serious about it. Pretty much my belief is anybody who believes in Judaism, if they're able to convert, they're able to handle what it is to keep Shabbos and kosher and everything, they should do it. It's only when we say b'diavad, post facto, that to quote unquote remain a Noahide if someone actually believes in Torah. It's one thing, someone's a Christian, someone's a Muslim. There's what to argue that you can still be a righteous Gentile as a Christian or a Muslim, and it doesn't really matter that much. Certainly as a Muslim, and to a certain extent, even as a Christian, we have, this idea of shituf, even though you can argue back and forth as to whether or not a non-Jew is allowed to have a concept of shituf, of partnership in God, and is this considered shituf or not? And what's the exact parameters of these aspects of this theology? But in the end, even taking away the question of Avodah Zarah, because in Malachi we see, and Rashi says that these are Chasidei Umas Ha'olam, that people who are actual pagans, not monotheists, people who actually worship many gods, they still really ultimately recognize that there's the one creator God that's above all of them. And so really all worship, the Bible says in Malachi 1:11, is directed to God. So, I don't think we have to be that concerned the way that we've created this movement of the Noahide movement that the Lubavitcher Rebbe made a big deal about. We should be happy with people being good Christians and good Muslims, and even good Wiccans and Odinists and Buddhists and Hindus, even though for sure for a Jew all of these are Avodah Zarah, and all of these are forbidden for a Jew to engage in these forms of worship. But if these people are essentially good people, ethical, moral, good people, that's really what it seems to be the main thing that is important, and the thing is that we shouldn't be assuming right away that everybody who is an Odinist is a white supremacist, and everybody who's a Nation of Islam is a black supremacist, and this and that, although those things exist in those communities. And the same thing, I read an article about this, and I agree. Not everyone who calls himself Messianic Jewish is necessarily trying to convert everybody. A lot of these people, first of all, they're not really Jewish according to Jewish standards, but they're more trying to find the Jewish roots of Christianity, and a lot of them are, Christians who are looking for. Yes, of course they'll be happy if a Jew converts to Christianity, but I don't think that's their main goal as much as some of the more. And yes, the main goal of Jews for Jesus is to convert Jews to Christianity, but that's not the be-all and end-all of what these communities that call themselves Messianic Jews are. I still think they're wrong, but that doesn't mean that we have to hate them at the level of hatred that is, when we are engaged in all of these types of interfaith work. But then, we'll even go and tell the Christians, you can't have these guys here, they're not welcome. Like, that's not how this works. That's not how America works. I'm sorry. We can say that in our own communities and in our own institutions, yes. But once we're working with the interfaith, they're part of the interfaith community like everybody else. And the question is, do we engage in interfaith? You know, most of the ultra-Orthodox community do not. Some do, very few. In the modern Orthodox community, they used to do it more. They don't do it as much. They still, and then in the Reform and Conservative, that's, you know, pretty much all they have, because they don't have much within themselves, you know. So, but still, the essential idea is that every Jew is a priest. And so we don't believe it's a sin for a non-Jew to eat pork. But we believe it's a sin for a Jew to eat pork, just like Catholics don't believe it's a sin for a lay person or even certain ordained ministers, deacons, and so forth to be married. But a priest takes certain vows. Now the difference is, for a Jew, you're born with these things, and you know, we do believe that someone, you know, could be born Jewish, and what it means is that they are responsible to live according to this priesthood, just like certainly the Aaron priesthood is something you're born with. But still, you have to learn what it's all about. And as a human being, you have to decide, do you really believe in this or not? And if you don't believe in it, it shouldn't mean anything. The unfortunate thing that we have in the Jewish community is a lot of people identify as Jewish but don't even believe in God. And that really makes our community look foolish and look racist and look primitive. And it's problematic, you know. You know, but it is what it is, you know. I mean, these Kiruv workers who go around, are you Jewish, are you Jewish, are you Jewish, are you Jewish, you know, oh, I'm gonna put tefillin on you, you're Jewish, you know. But then this guy, you know, he's really interested in Judaism, or he's a seeker, and he's considering, you know, trying to pick a religion, and then they're like, well, you know, you could just keep the 7 laws of Noah. Like, you know, so like somebody was a Christian and like they had, you know, certain ideas of morality and ethics, and then but then they realize that they don't really believe in the theology of Christianity, and they find the theology of Judaism to be more appealing, and perhaps they listen to certain Jewish apologists who were trying to prevent Jews from converting to Christianity, but in the meantime they've convinced a lot of Christians, but with their own, you know, inadvertently convinced a lot of Christians of their apologetic arguments. And then what? And then you tell them, oh, don't convert to Judaism, just stay in Noahide. So like, these people were Christians and they were living a very high level of ethics and morals, and instead we're telling them, no, you just have to keep the bare bone basics of ethics and morals, and you don't really even have to strive for anything more, because you're just a Gentile. I mean, that type of ideology is the ideology of that Kohen Gadol who, you know, who was like, oh, peace be unto you, you children of Gentiles. He's talking to the greatest rabbis of the generation, and he's jealous because they're more learned than him. but he was this arrogant Kohen Gadol, and the irony is that this ideology is really a Christian Pauline ideology of because you see in the epistles of Paul, especially in the epistle to the Galatian church, where he's really putting down Judaism, but he's putting it down not necessarily for Jews, although a little bit, but more for Gentiles, and more of saying don't bother to convert to Judaism, don't get circumcised, then you're going to be bound by the whole law. Why do you want to get into that whole mess? And it's the type of thing where certain people say it's better to be a good Gentile than a bad Jew, and there's truth to that, yes, but you can strive to be a good Jew. Yes, it's better to be a good Gentile than a bad Jew. And so if you don't think you're really going to succeed in Judaism, maybe you shouldn't be converting. But it's not as hard as people make it sound. If you go to someone like Rabbi Yitzchak Abadi, and you see what's really the basic Ikar Hadin, the actual halacha, although he's strict on certain things that a lot of people are not strict on, but for the most part he's lenient on things that most of the Orthodox world today are strict about. And it's good to be strict. Hamachmir Tavo Elav Bracha. I believe that very strongly. Someone who is strict, he receives a blessing for being strict. But you don't have to convince yourself that if you're not, if you eat gelatin, you're not eating kosher. Because so many of and I don't eat gelatin, but so many of the great poskim have said that it's permitted to eat gelatin. So you can, some people are thinking, I can't give up those Lucky Charms. They're magically delicious. And they're like, do you really expect me to give up Lucky Charms? And the answer should be no. You don't have to give up Lucky Charms. You can be a good Jew and eat Lucky Charms. Oh, will I make it there or no? No, they're letting all these people go. Couldn't let just one more person go. Anyway, it is what it is. Like I said, it's the will of God. But that's what it means, meaning Jewish people were to fill in and keep Shabbos and keep kosher, and Gentiles are not required to do these things. And that's what it means pretty much to be part of the chosen people, is that you have obligations that other people don't have. And that's also a ministry, that we're here to be a good example and to teach and to be good people and hope that other people will emulate us. So meaning, and yes, we do hope that people who are not keeping the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach keep the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. We were talking about the history of Islam yesterday with some, and people were putting down Islam, and I said, you don't know how bad the Arab society was before Islam. So, didn't even wave. You're supposed to wave when you're holding the sign like that. This guy will wave. This guy with the beard. He looks like a Hasidic Jew. He almost looks like he has pants, but I think he just has long hair. So. But we have to find, that balance. All right, I got a lot of learning to do. It's really late. I wanted to make a 5-minute video and I made a longer video, but that's what it means about being chosen. You have a choice. Are you going to live? It doesn't mean, I don't believe, this is what I'm going to explain. I don't believe that someone who just happens to have a Jewish mother is part of the chosen people. Because Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'Nasal Lanu Es Torah is what our liturgy says. That God chose us from all the peoples and gave us His Torah. So if someone does not accept that gift of Torah, they just happen to be born Jewish, but they don't care, and they're like, this is too much for me. And then you're not part of the chosen people. Certainly, people who do evil things. Someone like this Epstein guy who was killed in the jail. Who killed himself in the jail. He died. That's all we know. If he even died, he's probably not even dead. Who did that, Levaya? That's. Who went and checked? Because when we have a Jewish funeral, even though it's closed casket, the family is supposed to look inside and just make sure it's really them. And people like that, they're not part of the chosen people. They don't have some special status if they're not living a Torah life. And that's the point of what they're saying. Better a son of Gentiles who acts like Aaron than a son of Aaron who does not act like Aaron. That's the message that the Talmud has for us. That's the message that our sages have, that Judaism has. It's not about race. It's about devotion to God and living a godly life. And yes, we all fall. Yes, we all sin. Yes, we all mess up. We got to keep trying and not give up. Shevel Yipol Tzaddik V'Kom, the righteous falls 7 times and gets back up. And then what makes him righteous is he gets back up and he doesn't give up. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. We'll see you all later.